is going on, you and the tube? It's your boy Trucker Will. We're trucking it like always. So, in this video, guys, I was almost on the live last night. You want to know why, how, and what happened? We'll talk about it next. On Trucking, Trucker Will. What is going on, you in the tube? This your boy Trucker Will. We're trucking it like always, trying to make this money, trying to make this dough. But before we get into it, remember to like, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell below so you know when I come out with new videos on my black top journey. So, before that, make sure you smash the thumbs up button so it can stimulate the YouTube algorithm. So, what happened to me last night? Well, let's do a story time. So, I'm boogieing down the highway, making my way to my 90 after I picked up in Indiana. And driving down the road and start catching a headache. Now, I'm like, why am I catching a headache? I'm like, maybe like, did I eat? Things are going through my head, right? So, I get to this Love's, and I'm looking at my fuel. My fuel's getting low. I'm like, all right, I'll stop and put a couple gallons in here to get to my 90, because I got another load that I'm picking up, supposed to take to North Carolina. So, I stop, and I'm smelling something, and I'm like, what the hell am I smelling? So I'm parked in the fuel aisle, waiting for the other truck to hit and move ahead. And I get out and I see my lights and I see this smoke billowing. I'm like, I didn't go down no grades. I didn't burn my brakes out. So I'm sitting there looking around, looking around the truck. Another driver was like, yeah, you good? You all right? I'm like, yeah, it's truck smoke. He's like, he looks at the back. He says, oh, there's oil splatter on the back. I was like, oh, it's probably coming from the reefer. So the truck in front of me that's in the fuel aisle, he moves up. So I move up. I'm about to put some diesel in the truck so I can get down the road and keep my next load and get paid, right? So I'm putting diesel in. I'm putting like 20 gallons in. And fill my reefer up because it's a drop. And start the truck back up again. But I had my hood. I had already opened up my hood because I saw smoke coming from the front. I originally was coming from the back, but now it's coming from the front. So I'm like, is my battery? It's not a rotten egg smell, because I thought maybe one of my batteries went out or something. So I'm looking, seeing smoke coming from the front. I'm like, I have no check engine light stuff on my dash, nothing. So I'm like, So I move up and I look at my coolant reservoir. My coolant reservoir is filled between minimum and max. That's okay. Looking at my cap, making sure my cap didn't come off or leak in or anything. I look at my motor, and as I look at the motor, it's covered in this grease-like substance, and it's smoking. But I said, you know how there's a smell of coolant, and then there's a smell of diesel. So I'm like, it's a diesel smell, but it's leaking from the bottom. Because I went over to the Love's, and the Love's guy, he came out. I was like, well, it looks like I got a coolant hose leak. He was like, can y'all fix that? He's like, well, we can't do it today. We can do it tomorrow. I'm like, geez. It's like, is there a TA somewhere? Go to a TA, something like that. TA is like 14 miles down the road. So he's like, well, let me take a look at it. So he gets underneath, I was like, look at him. He said, bro, that's diesel. I'm like, diesel? This is my
Wait.
Then I say, really? I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. He said, well, turn it off for me. So I turned the truck on for him. And he's like, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're leaking diesel. I'm leaking diesel. Leaking diesel. So where I'm leaking diesel from on these motors, there is a high pressure and a low pressure fuel line. And I just had my injectors replaced from about 3 months ago. So my high pressure fuel line broke, came off, loose, wasn't tightened down, whatever, was loose, and it was spewing diesel all over my motor. Now, you might say, well, did you do a pre-trip? It wasn't that way when I started out this morning in the Ryzen. I went to my pickup, dropped my load off, went to pick up my load. There was no issues. It just randomly happened, right? So, put this in perspective, guys. I'm driving down the road and I'm spewing diesel out of my motor and I don't know it. I find out when I stop to get diesel and my truck is smoking. That could have been some Final Destination type crap. Could have been unalived. People don't realize that in this industry, you won't know if a driver is unalived unless he doesn't make it to his delivery. That's when you'll know when that person is no longer here or something's wrong, when he doesn't make it to his delivery. That's why it's important that you guys check up on your drivers, man. That's why you check up on them. Make sure you're in constant communication. Get some like 360, something like that, to make sure you can keep track if they're not moving on a specific time. You know, make sure that, you know, hey, what time do you have to be up, and if it's out of your they check on you. So it can prevent stupidity. That's just a little PSA. So yeah, it could have been bad yesterday. Could have been unalived. Driving down the highway and truck just could have been bad. So I figure out what's wrong with it. Get on the phone with Road Sys. Get on the phone with dispatch. So I got to get my load repowered and wait for a tow. Considering the place that worked on my truck last, take it back to them, and hopefully it's not nothing too ridiculous that has to be repaired. It's a quick fix. But there's different things in this world that you have to pay attention to and you have to watch out for. Different people, different types of people, different types of people's consideration, mindset, disposition. Be mindful of that. You know, I come out here, I don't hate, I don't wish worse things on people. I don't want to see people fail. I want to see people succeed. But I'm coming to realize that there's a lot of people that just don't like me, that wish harm, even unalive me, because they just don't like me. Didn't have to do anything to them, they just don't like me. That's what it is. No weapon formed against me will prosper. And I always keep this in my head. That's why I live by specific few rules. Do unto others as I would like them to do unto me. And never do something vicious to somebody unless you are willing to do that vicious thing to yourself. Karma is a bitch. She doesn't care what color you are. She doesn't care what you think, feel, nothing. What you put out into the atmosphere is what you're going to get back. So that's why it's important that you always do right by others.
Let me talk to you for a minute.
You never know who's watching.
Before my dad passed, I
Remember to be blessed, less stress, keep the left door closed, right foot down. Only when it's safe, guys. Like always, I see you in the blacktop. Safe truck.
So tomorrow, you can live how others don't.
If you do what others don't, you will live how others won't.